Okay, so last time we were talking about how economics is all about the study of choices we have to make because of scarcity. We talked about the division in economics, the micro and macro sides of economics. And then we started to talk about what does it mean to think like an economist. And we got through two of those things, about how everything has an opportunity cost. And we talked about how all decisions are really marginal decisions. It's not just whether I should do it or not do it, but it's to what degree should I do it? How far should I go with it? How many minutes, how many days, how many hours, how many dollars, and not yes or no. The third thing that we want to look at when it comes to economics is that, there are incentives everywhere, and they matter. Okay? So incentives can be positive or negative incentives. But this is what economists study in order to figure out, what decision is this person going to make or this government going to make. Right? So incentives are all over there. Sometimes they're intended, sometimes they're unintended. Sometimes they're positive, sometimes they're negative. So right now, you're watching this video, why? And I would argue you're watching it because incentives matter. Because you realize that watching the video is going to help you rather than skipping the video is going to hurt you, right? So you've decided that the incentive to watch it is greater than the incentive to not watch it. Maybe there's a positive incentive for watching it. Maybe you get a good grade. Maybe there's a negative incentive for not watching it. You didn't do your homework. Your parents are upset, something like that, right? So incentives are everywhere. You wake up at 7:30 to get to school on time, there's an incentive associated with that. You work hard on an assignment or a test, there's an incentive associated with that, right? You go to college, there's an incentive associated with that. Every decision you make, you're making it a certain way because of the incentives that are there, positive or negative, intended ones and unintended ones. So we'll talk about that more in the future. The fourth thing that we want to look at is a big one, and one that's going to dominate most of what we do in economics, is that trade creates value. And I'm going to try to illustrate that with just a simple example. All right? Trade creates value. And this is an important concept because a lot of times we don't see it. And I'm going to use just two people in a simple kind of silly little example. All right? This is going to be Joe, and Joe has a box. Or let's call it, he's got a square. And this is going to be Jim, and Jim has a circle. Okay? Now Joe's walking around, he's got this box. And he has some value for the box, just not a lot. He doesn't really need the box. He's looking to get rid of it, actually, but he values it at least $2. It's worth $2 to him. And Jim is walking around, he's got this circle, and this circle is worth $2 to him. Now, I just picked circle and square. It could be an actual good. Obviously, in real life, they're actual goods. And the dollars don't have to be the same, but you have these people, you're walking around, and you have this stuff that's valued at a certain amount in your head. Now, Joe doesn't really want a square anymore. He actually is dreaming and thinking about a circle. This is his thought bubble. He's actually dreaming and thinking about a circle. And Jim, on the other hand, he actually doesn't want a circle anymore. He doesn't value it that much. He's dreaming and thinking about, guess what? A square. All right? Now, Joe, in his head, thinking about this circle, he's like, oh, if I could just find a circle, I'd be willing to pay somebody $5 for a circle. Right? I don't want to pay more than that. I'd gladly pay less than that. If I could get it for $1, that'd be awesome. But I'd pay $5 if I could get a circle. And Jim, on the other hand, he's like, I really want a square, and I'd be willing to pay somebody up to $5 to get that square. And all of a sudden, they're walking down the street, and they each see the other person with the thing that they want. And they say, hey, and they decide that, I will give you this square. You give me that circle, and we make an exchange. So Joe ends up getting his circle. And what do you have to give up in order to get that? He had to give up $2. But how much does he value it for? He values it for $5. So now he has this thing that he values at $5, and he only had to give up $2 in order to get it. So he's plus $3. All right, he's up $3 because he got something that he wanted for $5. He got something that he would have paid $5, but he only had to pay $2 for it. So they actually were able to trade and generate value, even though all we still have is a circle and a square. Now Jim, he's not worse off, he's better off. Right? He got rid of his circle that he valued at $2. He got a square. He had to give up $2 for that square, but he values that square at $5. So he too is plus 3. Each one of them are $3 better off. This is a huge concept in economics and one that most people don't know anything about. When we make these exchanges, you go to a store and you see something that you're willing to buy, that price tag on it isn't usually the maximum that you'd pay. It could be 50 cents or $1 or even $10 more for certain things, and you'd still pay for it. Right? You value the money less than you value the good itself, otherwise you'd always hold on to your money. Right? But you don't. You value that thing that you're giving the money up for. Okay? So we'll do a lot of activities with this, but it doesn't just have to be these two goods. Right? So I'll do one last example, like I was just talking about with the store. So let's say that we got Jim again. All right, so here's Jim. Now Jim is he's thirsty, and he's walking around with actual money this time. All right, so Jim's thirsty. He's walking around with money. He's got $2. Right, and he comes across a store that sells fizzy drinks. Right, so he's got a fizzy drink right here, and he's got his $2. And it just so happens he sees a fizzy drink, and they're selling the fizzy drink for, let's just say, $2, right? So he's got his $2 right here, and he decides, you know what, I'm going to give my $2 up for this fizzy drink, right? So he values the money less than he values the fizzy drink. So he gives that money up, right? And in turn, he benefits. Let's say he was so thirsty that he would have been willing to pay $10 for a fizzy drink, right? So how much does he benefit? He gives up the $2, and he had to pay $2, but he got $10 worth of stuff. So he's actually created $8 worth of value. Now somebody had to sell him that, right? So they must have valued the $2 more than they valued the fizzy drink that they were giving up. Okay? So this is a powerful idea of economics. So if we go back and kind of review real quick what we've talked about so far. What is economics? It's the study of choices because of scarcity. Right? It's the study of choices that we have to make. Right? This money is scarce, so he has to make a decision on how to best utilize that money that he's got. We learned how to think like an economist, how opportunity costs are associated with everything. We learned about how we make decisions at the margin, how incentives matter, and how trade creates value. Now, what I'm going to leave you with right here, just to kind of contemplate, is what do you think the greatest cost associated with going to college is? And I'll give you a hint. One of the greatest costs is not tuition. Okay, that's what I'm going to leave you with for today. And we'll try to address it next time in the next video. But what is the greatest cost, think opportunity cost, of attending college? Not tuition. See you next time.